Welcome back. 5:46 now on Daybreak. And this morning, we are remembering the mother of all wardrobe malfunctions, Super Heartbreak Part 4, and Mr. Donuts.
Yeah, those stories and more made headlines this week in decades past. Channel 2's Dave McKinley looks back to the times when it was news to you.
10 years ago this week, when the Harbor Center was going up, the Delaware Court Building was coming down to make way for what now stands as the Delaware North Building at Delaware and Chippewa. The State Department concluded the proposed Keystone Pipeline would have no adverse impact on the environment, and two future presidents were in the area just one day apart. Donald Trump in Buffalo contemplating a run for governor by bearing some inconvenient truths.
We are by far the highest tax state in the nation.
Joe Biden was in Rochester stumping for President Obama's education agenda.
We do value an academic path.
And it's been 10 years since we lost actor Philip Seymour Hoffman, who died of a drug overdose at the age of 46 this week in 2014. 20 years ago this week, when young Mark Poloncarz here was leading the local effort for the unsuccessful presidential campaign of John Kerry, young Tom Brady won just his second Super Bowl in a game marked by an incident during the halftime show with Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson, which resulted in the phrase wardrobe malfunction becoming part of the American vernacular.
I thought it was very disgusting.
Offensive, embarrassing to us and our fans.
It was entertainment. She didn't get butt naked.
I think it was staged,
Not only is it sort of a crass and sophomoric demonstration, it may be an illegal one.
But for Bills fans, the bigger crime came 30 years ago this week with Super Heartbreak Part 4.
That's almost painful to look at the Buffalo bench. To be so close, so often, and come away short.
After the Bills lost their fourth consecutive Super Bowl. Though down, some fans were not out and boldly predicted their boys would be back.
That's our cry. Try for 5. We'll be back in 95.
But to this day, the Bills have yet to return to where they were 30 years ago this week in 1994. 40 years ago this week, when you could still pack the kids in the station wagon for some shopping at Gold Circle or AM&A's or even the Seneca Mall, and then stop off for a coffee and cruller at the once ubiquitous Mr. Donut. Now, I know it's been a while since you may have been, and there's plenty of reasons, which we'll get into in just a moment. But for now, this week's News to You pop quiz, which is, how many Mr. Donuts do you think still operate in the U.S. as opposed to the more than 500 that did, including several in Buffalo this week in 1984? Remember, this was back when decades before he'd have a family and star with them in a popular reality show, Ozzy Osbourne was still rocking the odd before a legion of devoted fans. And back in those days, when the mayor gave his State of the City address, he presented it to members of the Common Council, where among those upon the dais who preferred to, the watchwords were still, smoke 'em if you got 'em, back in the days when it was all news to you.
And now here is the answer to this week's News to You pop quiz about the once ubiquitous Mr. Donut shops dotting the landscape 40 years ago. The franchise was later purchased by the parent company of Dunkin' Donuts. Most were switched over, and we asked if you could guess how many Mr. Donuts remain operating. There's only one. It is in Godfrey, Illinois. There are many more, but you'd have to travel even further. To most of them, there are 9,000 Mr. Donuts in operation today there in Asia.
I love that Dave pronounced it cruller at Mr. Donut. To me, it's a cruller.
Really?
Yeah. Is that just me? Did my parents always mispronounce it and then that passed down to me? I don't know.
You've got the
glazed
French
cruller,
pronunciation.
right?
Cruller.
I love those station wagons where I think most people removed the seatbelts to make room.
Do they even have seatbelts? Because
you're in the back.
I do remember riding in the back of just packing so many kids into the back of a station.
Exactly.
And that last Bills Super Bowl loss, that put my wife in labor. My daughter was born the next day.
No way.
Yeah, so Brenna will be 30 years old this week.
No way.
Yeah.
That's cool. Good memory.
And now it's news to you.
That's news to you. Let's take